morning. I'm going to call to order the quarterly board meeting of the Kentucky Public Pensions Authority, and we're going to begin with a legal opening statement.
Yes, sir. This is a regular meeting of the Kentucky Public Pensions Authority. This meeting is being broadcast via video teleconference pursuant to Kentucky Revised Statute Section 61.826 and may be viewed by the public at the Kentucky Public Pensions Authority offices located at 1260 Louisville Road in Frankfort, Kentucky. It is also being broadcast to the public via Facebook. If you are speaking and not appearing by video, please identify yourself before talking. Please ensure that you're on camera when making or seconding a motion or casting a vote. In the event the video or audio broadcast is interrupted, we will attempt to reestablish a connection. If a connection cannot be reestablished within 30 minutes, the meeting will be adjourned and rescheduled to another date. Thank you.
Okay, roll call, please.
Yes, sir. Mr. Piercy,
Here.
Dr. Carver,
Here.
Mr. Cheatham,
Here.
Dr. Hackbart, Ms. Hampton,
Here.
Mr. Lane,
Here.
Mr. O'Mara,
Here.
Mr. Summers.
859-536-5500.
Oh, and I see Dr. Hackbart.
Here.
Oh,
Yes.
there he is. Okay, thank you.
Okay, we have a quorum, and now we're up to public comment. Sherry?
Yes, sir. We did receive 4 public comments for this meeting, and I will read them now. The first one is from Albert Joseph Woosley, and he writes, please support House Bill 406 in implementing the additional pension check for KERS and CERS members. Since COLA was taken away, it is getting harder to live on a budget that has no changes in the amount received. The second one is from Susan Wilhoit Oliver, and she states, please support House Bill 406. From Nancy Pickett, we received, this means of a 13th check is necessary. I have been retired 26 years and only got a few COLA on beginning, and we are dedicated state retirees and had a yearly COLA of which has not been the case. We are so far behind on it, a 13th check would not even take care of it, but would be appreciated. The last one was received from Alan Combs, and he writes, I support the 13th check of Kentucky retired law enforcement. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Our next item is the approval of minutes from the December 4th meeting, and I'll seek a motion.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? And that motion is adopted. We're going to change the order slightly now, and we're going to hear from some folks at the Finance Cabinet about an issue. And for that, I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Barrow.
Yes, thank you very much for being accommodating in the schedule. Wanted to talk today about the Louisville office journey. As you all know, that started pre-me, and I'm kind of working on 2 years here. It's a journey that's led statutorily by the Finance Cabinet, so I've been getting more and more questions. So I thought this update would be well-timed. Just a little bit of recent history. We ran into a hiccup in the process in November. I ran into a hiccup of late that you'll hear some details on. So we reached out and had a conversation with the Finance Cabinet. Secretary was accommodating, and the General Counsel is here today, Barbara Dickens, to give a little bit of color. That's a process they own, so wanted to hear it directly from them. Talk kind of about the challenges, potentially the path forward. And the last comment I'll make, this is still an open procurement, so all the kind of rules and limitations still apply that the state controller talked about at the impact forum. But with that, Barbara, thank you for being here and giving us an update.
Good morning, everyone. Thanks for having me here. As Ryan said, I'm the General Counsel of the Finance Cabinet, and our Division of Real Properties is responsible for all leased property throughout the state, unless there's a statutory exclusion for that. But generally speaking, it is for all leased property for any state agencies. This, I'll say that we acknowledge that it has taken an unusually long amount of time to get this lease in place. There are explanations for that. There are reasons it's taken this long. The main one, I think, being that we are leasing Class A space. That is not typical. And actually, I don't have another example of that happening. We typically lease Class B or C space. I think that's presented some challenges for the Division of Real Properties, but also for the vendors that lease that space because they don't typically lease to the state. And so there is a statutory process and a regulatory process that goes with leased properties. And it takes probably longer than it does in the private world to get space leased. I do want to advise that we still have an option with the current proposer that we are working on. And as of this morning, we are working on those. I have personally been involved in trying to obtain this space and expedite it and get it in place for the agency. I know that there is a need there, and we are trying to meet that need. But obviously, it's got to be a space that is suitable for the agency and meets what was in the RFP. So we are continuing to work on that, even as of this morning. I don't know if you have any questions about, what the, challenges have been. Just generally speaking, I've talked about it. It's the fact that it's a unique procurement, I think, for the state, but we're continuing to work through the issues that we've had.
Go right ahead.
When you say the property, are you referring to the Finley property?
Finley is, I think they proposed a couple of properties. So yes, we are talking about Finley property.
Well, it's my understanding that they withdrew their offer, if you will, in writing. I saw a copy of that. Are we back live with them or?
Well, it is an open procurement, so I want to be careful about what we're discussing at a public meeting. We are continuing to work on a solution with regard to that proposer.
Okay, I'm frustrated. We're edging up on 3 years now of being homeless, and I'm not hearing that I'm hearing what sounds like progress, but I think our investment staff is very important, and we need to have them together, and we need them in whether it's B space or A space. I think very, very soon we need to have that taken care of. And I've talked to a couple of people of my friends in the real estate business, and they, as you alluded to, will not deal with the state. And so I don't know what our options are going to be, but let's hope we can get down the road on this one.
Absolutely. There have been some challenges with this procurement. I acknowledge that. The leasing branch, which is not an enormous branch, acquired about 55 new leases last year, renewed something like 35 or 40 leases, and managed over 1,000, almost 1,100 leases from 2025 until the current date. So, this is something they typically do. They enter into leases all the time, and we don't have issues, and we have plenty of proposers. This is, we did an RFP for Class A space. And that was new for the state. But obviously it needs to not only be compliant with state statutes and regulations, but it needs to meet the needs of the agency. We recognize, I mean, we work with agencies on their individual needs all the time. We want to make sure that what they end up with is acceptable to the KPPA staff, and we're continuing to work on that. Literally as of this morning, continuing to meet on that. So we certainly, if we do not proceed under the current procurement, we can do another procurement. Right now we feel like we have an option that we're working on, and I had hoped to have more confirmation as of this morning, but we're continuing to work on it.
Lynn?
Firstly, Barbara, thank you. I can imagine that you were not looking forward to coming to this meeting. But I will say, if it's been almost 3 years, I hope that this is at the very top of your, whatever it was, 1,000 leases that you have. Pruitt said everything that I would like to add, and just take that and underline it. I do think that we should be more active with the finance cabinet, working with Ryan, so that possibly we can help move it along. It is, as Pruitt said, it's very frustrating when you sit there and you think about one of the things that bothers me a lot is that we have a very small staff. We used to have interns be able to work at work, and interns are kind of like the people that are coming up and making these opportunities. And we've not been able to do that because there's no way to have a supervisory relationship. So the universities are suffering, as well as our staff is suffering, as well as looking for training people for future in this industry. So please move it to the top of your priority, and let's have this meeting in a quarter, in the next one of our meetings. So please do that. Thank you.
Well, thank you.
Robert, how you doing? This is William.
Hi.
I just got a quick question. When I'm dealing with my lenders here, I always ask, what's the possibility of the percentage of closing? And, so on who we're currently working with, do you think this is a 50-50 shot that this is going to work? Are we going to be back out? Or do you think it's 75%? Where do you think the percentages are in there?
I think that, thank you, Mr. Summers. I think that absolutely depends on whether or not it will meet the needs of the agency. And that's the piece on where we are that we will need to confirm. In response to Ms. Hampton, let me just say it is absolutely the highest priority lease for the secretary, for me, for the commissioner of the Department of Facilities and Support Services, and for the executive director of Real Properties. All of us have worked on this and have prioritized it. I mean, there's been significant discussions and efforts on everybody's part, and I'm, not gonna. I can't answer as to why we didn't get it to this level before. Again, I've looked at the whole timeline. I could explain every piece of that if we need to, but there were gaps in there. There were other things that were legitimate, things that took more time because we needed it to meet the needs for the agency. So we are all continuing to focus on it, and I think if we are going to expedite the next step, which is going to be to meet with Ryan and his staff and the design team and see if we've got a solution. So.
Any other questions or comments? And if not, Ryan, you have anything to wrap up?
Yes, I do appreciate the time. It's been a long process. I think we all recognize that. And, from KPPA's perspective, we've been exceedingly accommodated to changes to make this work. The restart, that's why I've reached out to a number of you. The restart gives us a lot of heartburn. We understand statutory requirements, et cetera. So, we've asked the secretary for exemptions. We have other options that we've talked about publicly and privately out there. I do appreciate the board's comments on top priority. We've asked the same thing as staff here at KPPA. We do see the importance, and we've been homeless. Reiterate that point. So from KPPA standpoint, we'll be as accommodating as possible. Obviously, we can't, take a large increase or an increase in price or more footprint than we can really justify from a business standpoint. But I do appreciate Barbara being here today. We've talked before, we're gonna continue to talk, but not owning the statutory process, I thought it was really important for the board members to be able to ask direct questions. So thank you, Mr. Chair, for putting this at the top of the agenda.
Yep, no problem. Ms. Dickens, thank you for coming.
Thank you all. Have a good rest of your meeting.
All right, thank you. Now we're going to move on to number 6 on the agenda, which is the KPPA Audit Committee report and recommendations, and Kristen is with us for that.
Yes, good morning. The audit committee had their regularly scheduled meeting in February, and we have 2 items that we want to discuss with KPPA. The first is the GASB 68 and GASB 75 proportionate shares audit, and I'm going to turn that over to Connie Davis and let her discuss that.
Good morning. The 2025 GASB 68 and GASB 75 proportionate share audits were presented to the CERS board and the KRS board. The audits resulted in unqualified or clean opinions. The CERS and the KRS boards approved the audit reports for their respective plans. Leland Miller, Roger Alfaro, and Kelly Burgee from iBailey are here today to answer any questions that the KPPA board may have on the audits. Are there any questions that they can answer?
See any.
Okay. And management requests that the board ratify the actions of the CERS and KRS boards and approve KPPA to publish the reports and schedules to the website. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, seek a motion to approve GASB 68 and 75 proportionate share audits for the fiscal year ending June 30, 2025, and authorize KPPA staff to publish the audits on the KPPA website.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? And that motion is adopted. And now we have the internal audit reports.
So the second item that we want to talk about are the issued internal audit reports, and I'm going to turn that over to Madeline Evans and let her review those.
Morning, everyone. So we talked about 4 audits during the audit committee meeting held recently, and we can go over these if you guys have any questions, but for the purposes of this meeting, we're just looking for ratification of these reports.
Move approval
Steve.
of the 4 audits presented.
Bill?
Second.
Okay, we have a first and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? And that motion is adopted. And I think that does it for the audit committee, correct?
It does. Thank you very much.
Okay, thanks, Kristen. All right, and we're up to number 7, which is the ad hoc regulation committee report and recommendations.
Good morning. The Ad hoc Regulations Committee met on March the 5th and approved 2 regulations forwarding to the board for your consideration today. Those 2 regulations are both amendments. Regulation 105 KAR 1001 definitions adds several definitions related to employers that are found in multiple regulations. It also adds technical changes including it expands the role of that regulation to cover not just Chapter 1, but all of Title 105 of the KARs in anticipation of technical changes in the next few months, where we'll add other chapters and divide existing regulations into those chapters. Additionally, the committee approved changes to 105 KAR 440, which relates to trustee education. This regulation had not been amended since House Bill 484, and so it updates the KRS trustee education policy to the version that was adopted by that board in December, and also incorporates the CERS board policy that was updated in December as well. And the regulation simply says that the KRS trustees will abide by their policy and the CERS trustees will follow their policy. Are there any questions about those two regulations?
Okay, if we have no questions, I'll seek a motion to approve 105 KAR 1001 and 105 KAR 1440 and approve the filing of the regulations with the Office of Regulations compiler at LRC.
So moved.
Second, and I'd like to make a statement.
Sure, go right ahead. This is discussion.
Thanks.
Go ahead.
Thanks. I want to thank the staff for bringing this to our attention. And if I am understanding this right as a member of this committee, we're getting close to the point where we're not going to be having so many regulations to update. Is that correct, Nathan?
We are hoping to divide them into 5 different chapters based on subject matter. There may be a little bit of heartburn making that transition, and we're cognizant that there's going to be a burden on other divisions, and we're working with staff to make that transition as smooth as possible. But once that's done, we hope that it'll make not only the quantity of regs at any one time go down, but it'll also improve our internal quality of review when we do review regs.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And that motion is adopted. Thank you, Nathan. And we are up to the administrative budget to actual and the hybrid allocation percentages, which are the next 2 items on the agenda. And Mike Lamb's with us for those.
Good morning. Starting on page 303 is the summary budget to actual presentation. We're going to stay there for just a second. The next page shows you some comments that I'm going to read through, and then the detailed budget is pages 305 to 306. But in general, the KPPA has spent 51.252% of their personnel staff category, or $19 million is left to spend. Year-to-date spending is 4.68% higher than the prior year. Overall, this subcategory is on target to be at or slightly below budget at year end. The legal contracts line item, there is plenty of capacity left for the remaining 6 months of the fiscal year. The auditing line item looks pretty low. However, the external audit invoices totaling $156,000 were paid in January. I haven't looked at February or year to date for March, but that should remain under budget for the rest of the year. Actuarial services, similar. They're higher than they were at prior year at this time, but the category is trending below budget and is expected to remain under budget. Medical reviewers, current costs are 12.86% higher than prior year at this time. However, the category is trending below budget and is expected to remain under budget. Other personnel is significantly under budget through Q2. That category contains the IT assessment under miscellaneous contracts that had been initiated in late November. So we expect that to catch up and still be under budget at the end of the year. The operational total line item, it's trending below budget with most line items on target to below budget throughout the year. There are a few individual line items that we're just keeping track of: conference expenses, calendar, dues and subscriptions, and then a carpool line item. And there is one line item in the details. It's the state risk insurance that's already over budget, but it's going to be over budget by about $5,000 at the end of the year. All other individual line items in this category are on target to be below or at budget at year end. And so overall through Q2, we've spent 44.11% or $28 million of the fiscal year budget. And current spend is 1.2% higher than that of the same period last year. The bottom of page 306 shows you the hybrid allocation of how this $22 million has been allocated. I'm going to note a couple percentages there because it's relevant to the hybrid percentage that we're going to talk about in a minute. But the CRS is split out at 59.15 for non-haz and 5.2% for hazardous, a total of 64.35%. And then KRS is split out 31.266, 3.688 for non-haz and hazardous respectively, and state police gets 0.696% of the costs allocated to them. And then page 181 shows you the JP Morgan interest earned over the last 6 months. And then we can start on the hybrid percentage presentation on 308. But any questions on the budget to actual? Sherry, would you move to 308, please? Perfect. Thank you. Let me get there myself. So this is a PowerPoint presentation of how these hybrid allocation gets created. Basically, there are 6 slides there. Statutorily, KPPA has the authority to allocate costs to the pension plans that they administer. There is a work group that's been implemented over the past couple of years related to calculating this hybrid percentage. It's developed a methodology. That methodology has remained mostly consistent with some minor changes. If we go to page 310, it usually follows this confirmation of membership, confirmation of assets under management, confirm actual costs from the prior year ACFRs, categorize those costs, and assign an allocation methodology to those costs. We do remove some system-specific costs, such as CEO salaries and K and C specific general costs, etc. And then we work with the KPPA board or their work group to review the methodology and calculate the resulting hybrid percentage. And then when we finalize that, we present that to the KPPA board to be implemented. Here is the next page is the historical hybrid percentages since fiscal year 22. And the amounts for C and K, as well as the individual amounts for the individual pension plans that are administered by C and K. And so we get to the next page. This is just the validation of the numbers that go into the calculation. I've put on there circled of the numbers and the pages on the ACFR or SAFR, depending on where they come from, so that you could check them yourselves if you needed to. The next page shows you the assets under management, same situation. And then I confirm the actual admin costs from the prior year, and I present them in the ACFR. Then there's some math that goes on the next page where we take that number and we remove those system specific costs and come up with the total admin costs that were spent related that need to be allocated, that were allocated in the fiscal year 2025 ACFRs. Then I plug that into a formula, and this was the original hybrid percentage calculation to be effective for fiscal year 27 prior to work group discussions. Through the work group process, we evaluated various line items. We discussed them and we made a couple changes. So in the work group, we did look at the compliance officer costs, communications division costs, and IT costs and IT personnel costs. It was recommended by the work group and adopted into this calculation that we move the compliance officer to a 50-50 allocation. That position used to be under investments, which is under assets under management. So now that it's not under investments and is doing more compliance than just investment compliance, that position's salary and related costs are now 50-50. We discussed with the communication department how much time is spent by them on. Let me just back up a little bit. Most of the personnel costs at KPPA are split based on membership, but we did talk to the communications group and it was concluded that most of their time is spent 50-50 and not really driven by membership. And so we decided to separate that particular department out and allocate it 50-50 versus membership. We did look at that for IT. IT is still really in general membership dependent on their personnel costs and their actual costs related to, software, et cetera, et cetera. So we left them in the membership category as well. So with those changes, it gives you a hybrid percentage of 64.38% for CERS and KRS at 35.62%, which is a 0.03% change from the prior year's hybrid percentage. And this is what I wanted to present to you today and ask that the KPPA board approve the work group recommendation of 64.38% for CERS, 35.62 for KRS to be effective July 1.
Any questions or comments?
I move that we accept this recommendation.
I'll second.
Any
And
discussion?
I'd just like to make a comment of how much work that Mike Lamb and his crew did to analyze, to present, to ask questions. He was very, very thorough. And as you could see through the presentation, he's got everything well documented. So just hats off to the process and the efforts they made.
I'd like to add to your comments, Bill. I thought it's very well done, very transparent, and everyone can certainly understand the allocation procedure. And certainly a very, very fine project. And thank you, those that worked on this. This is well done. Appreciate it.
And Keith, I'd like to echo what both Bill and Meryl have said and add to that. This is a really good example of where we work together, and so I really thank everybody from the both boards, and again I thank the staff. We're a new organization, and coming up with this and working together is good.
Any further discussion? Okay, seeing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And that motion is adopted. Thank you, Mike.
You're welcome. Thank you very much.
We're up to an optional break. Does anybody feel like we need to take a break? Okay, we'll move along to number 11, which is the investment department update with Steve Willard.
Good morning. The KRS Investment Committee held a special called meeting on January 12th, where they unanimously approved staff and Wilshire's recommendation to adopt a neutralizing approach for benchmarking the performance of the private equity allocation. That recommendation was sent to the KRS board for ratification. The KRS and CRS investment committees held their regular meetings on February 18th and February 25th, respectively, where no recommendations were made that required committee action. Updating performance during the second quarter, the pension composite returned 2.14% versus the benchmark's return of 1.95%. And the insurance composite produced a return of 2.12% compared to its benchmark return of 1.92%. With individual portfolio performance range from 2.04 to 2.13%, and all of the portfolios outperformed their respective benchmark for the quarter. Fiscal year to date, the pension composite produced a return of 6.49% versus 6. While the insurance composite returned 6.43% compared to its benchmark return of 6.30. Portfolio performance range from 6.16 to 6.58 fiscal year to date. And over the last 12 months, the pension and insurance composite portfolios have outperformed their benchmark by 77 and 82 basis points respectively. This outperformance translates to roughly about $250 million of additional portfolio for the performance over the last 12 months. Updating since this report, January's monthly performance was recently finalized with the pension composite producing a return of 1.76% and the insurance composite returning 1.79%. That brings fiscal year-to-date performance to 8.36% and 8.33%. Very strong start to the fiscal year. As we've seen in February and March, volatility in markets has increased, so we expect performance going forward to be a little more muted until a number of events play out and the impact on potential economic growth is determined, and probably the path of rates, we have a little more clarity there. I also wanted to highlight, we presented in both investment committees that the work that's been done to actively renegotiate fee schedules with external investment managers. We target effective fee rates that are in the lowest quartile of the manager universe for individual mandates based upon size. And over the last year, Joe was able to successfully renegotiate management fees with 7 of our 14 public equity managers, resulting in an annual fee savings of approximately $4.6 million with a weighted average savings of a little over 30%. Currently, 12 of the managers are now in the cheapest quartile of the manager universe, and 1 is just outside of the lowest quartile. So kudos to Joe. Great job. I also wanted to provide an update. The CERS investment cost is nearing completion. And our plan, once we finalize that, is to start on the RFP for custodial services currently with BNY Mellon. We discussed that at the last meeting, so we hope to be able to start that quickly. We're also planning on an RFP for general consulting services. We hope to start that by the second half of the year. Again, Wilshire's contract, our current general consultant, was effective September 1st, 2017. So from a timing perspective, it's prudent to put that back out for RFP. I also wanted to note that we recently updated and reposted the junior investment associate position. We hope to begin interviews for that position in the next few weeks. Happy to take any questions.
Well, I hope that the next time we hear this report, it's better than what my particular portfolio is doing.
No promises, Lynn, no promises, but we will certainly try.
Any more questions or comments for Steve? And if not, this was an information-only presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And now we have the Executive Director report with Mr. Barrow.
Yes, thank you. We did present what's in the packet, abbreviated version to be cognizant of time. I have 2 supplements to 2 sections, the legislative and the staffing section. Lynn, I think you'll want to hear the staffing section. But focusing on legislative, since the packet was put together, this actually happened yesterday. A&R met on the Senate side related to the executive branch budget bill, which we fall under. That's House Bill 500. There was an amendment made. It was voted on the floor unanimously in the afternoon, posted last night. So as you can imagine, all of us were vigorously reading it this morning. I will say this is early in the process, at least for me. This is very early to have it out of both chambers, the House and the Senate. Now, obviously, there's differences, so it will go back to the House as it just cleared through the Senate. I will note a couple of things that were unique or of interest to this group. It does continue the supplemental funding to the K side of the House. That has been traditional in the last several budgets, but it does add supplemental funding to the insurance side on the K, which is a touch unique. Again, it's still within the process. So I'm not going to cite any numbers because they're almost certain to change. But that concept I did want to point out since it was functioned yesterday. It does include money. Both the House and Senate included money for our modernization project, which Mike Lamb has talked about in several meetings. The 13 check on the K side is included based on years of service, and that is pre-funded. It does not include the C side. But as mentioned earlier, House Bill 406 is still out there that does include the 13 check on that side. Moving to the supplemental update on staffing, just wanted to talk about the internship program. Now, we obviously can hire additional interns, but as part of the personnel's cabinet, they have put together a global statewide internship program. We have 5 that we anticipate starting with KPPA on May 11th, with conclusion of the program on July 31st. There's some supplemental benefits if individuals go through this program versus just a direct hire that we've traditionally done. It includes development days, agency tours. There's a minimum of 300 working hours, which seems kind of low, but that's the requirement to get some of the benefits going through the program. And then there's a final project. I think it was very successful. I believe last year was the first year. It was very successful. Met with them a few times and really enjoyed. We got positive feedback. Lynn, I will say that through discussions with investments, we would have liked to have had solutions to the prior conversation, but we will have an investment intern based on all the facts we know today, reporting to Joe. So we have to be accommodating on that location, obviously, but we do have 5 interns spread across the agency. A couple other groups wanted them, but you obviously have to have the right fit. And I will give a kudos to Lori and the HR team on the successful hiring of these 5. And has a big hand in the internship program as it goes forward. So happy to take any questions on this or the information that's presented previously.
Questions or
Thank you.
comments?
Just a comment. Thanks.
I have a question. Are those internships paid? Are they paid internships?
Yes, they are paid.
Okay,
internships.
great.
Yes.
Great.
Anything else?
I'll just comment to Pat, Dr. Carver. I will at U of L. I know they're very actively looking at when intern positions come open, and I would hope that Bellarmine does the same. They're good internships.
Yes.
I'll be talking to them about it.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Barrow. And we are up to new business, and we have a resolution for cooperation that I think is was it in the board books? Yes. Lynn, do you want to discuss this?
I think if I could, I think Bill was the author of the resolution, and I'd like to hear from him first, and I'd be happy to comment afterwards.
By all means, go ahead, Bill.
Thank you, Chair. As the memo says, I was thinking about over the holidays and came up with this idea of a resolution to be presented to each of the 3 boards. So I drafted it. I'm not a lawyer, so it doesn't quote statute or anything. It just talks about good governance and best practices, which I think would well serve all of our organizations. So the attached draft resolution is to consider communication, coordination, and cooperation between the boards and each management team, so they have a review, questions, and comments identified and shared with the board or committee before an item is presented for action. And the reason I think that's so important is that as board members, we need to hear all sides of whatever issue, opinions, approaches, so that we can do our fiduciary duty and make a well-informed decision. So my request was the opportunity to present this resolution to each board, and I thank you for putting it on the agenda. The resolution reads, whereas the Board of Trustees of KPPA, KRS, and CRS need the most accurate and complete information available and desire to be aware of relevant comments, questions, and or opinions regarding a subject in order to fulfill their fiduciary duty to make an informed decision on any item presented for action. And whereas KPPA, KRS, and CRS strive to conduct all activities by exercising good business and good governance practices. And whereas KPPA, KRS, and CRS management and staff need to communicate, cooperate, and coordinate across all organizations in order to conduct efficient and effective management and oversight of their organizations and for the best interest of their members. Therefore, be it resolved that KPPA management and business units, KRS management, and CRS management will be afforded the opportunity to review, ask questions, and comment on any item before it is presented to a board or committee for action. And therefore, be it resolved that KPPA management and business units, KRS management, and CRS management will be afforded an opportunity to present comments to the board or committee before an action is taken. So moved.
Second.
We have a first and a second. Any discussion?
Yes.
Lynn?
Thank you, Keith, and thank you, Bill. 5 years ago, in April of 2021, the Kentucky retirement system began operating with 3 boards, following the statutes approved by the legislature in 2020. The statutes provide the rules. We need to understand and implement what the statutes require, which includes language in the statutes that states the boards will coordinate. On February 9th, I received the email that Bill has been talking about with the resolution we are addressing. This was sent to the chairs of all 3 boards. The resolution seeks again to communicate, cooperate, and coordinate in order to conduct efficient and effective management and oversight. When I read this resolution, it seemed exactly what we need to do. There have been 3 legislative amendments brought to the legislature without discussion at KRS or KPPA, and with my opinion, negative consequences. 2 of these were passed. The CERS CEO has stated that the statutes have KPPA reporting to each of the boards. This interpretation might be why CERS goes directly to the legislature rather than to KPPA for action. The KRS understanding is that the statutes have CERS and KRS under the umbrella of KPPA, with an equal number of members from each branch. And we are responsible for the and KPPA is responsible for the administration of the entire organization. I look at it as 2 branches of the same tree. We really need this clarified. To address before this resolution was even thought of, I guess, the KRS had scheduled 2 meetings, one in Lexington and another in Greenburgh. At the first meeting, we agreed to make a list of where we have different opinions on what the statutes require. At the second meeting, we made little headway, but did agree to ask our attorneys for help in interpreting the statutes. There is no veto in this, as stated in the CERS CEO's March report. This is an understanding of the laws. The meeting of the attorneys was set. The attorneys for KPPA and KRS met, but learned at the meeting that the attorney for CERS was not going to make it. Something had come up. The meeting ended. I am now at the end of my 4 years as chair of KRS. I have seen amazing and positive growth in the funding status of KRS retirement assets, from 12.9% in 2018 to 30% in 2025. The investment staff results are again outperforming our indexes. I've also seen our professional staff provide amazing services to our members. The resolution meets the needs of KPPA, KRS, and CERS, specifically stating how we need to work together. It should and will guide our continued progress. KRS voted unanimously to approve this resolution at our meeting last week. I personally want to thank Bill for bringing this resolution to the board. I will support the resolution. And thank you, Keith.
Sure. Any further discussion? Mr. Cheatham.
Yeah, I'm going to just chime in briefly. A lot of what Lynn said, I certainly don't disagree with. I think there's plenty of areas that the three boards do cooperate on. I think it's been quite evident in this meeting that we've cooperated quite well with regard to the budget, quite well with the hybrid allocation. A few years ago, quite well with expanding the joint audit committee for equal representation. However, when it comes to areas that we do not have a shared interest, my board, which this resolution was presented at, has no intention of outsourcing, shirking, or delegating our fiduciary responsibility to anyone that doesn't have those interests or responsibilities to our members. The issues that Lynn brings up are just that, legal issues. And I believe that message has been conveyed that our attorney advised us at this point until our board determines what legal avenue that we intend to take to resolve some of these issues and some of these interpretations. It was not in our best interest to continue those discussions. So, for that reason and that reason only, I certainly do not support the resolution that would outsource any type of, and you can hash out your interpretation of veto, but when either board, any of the three, have an issue that I don't even know how you even bring an issue up to another board if it hadn't been brought up to your own board to begin with. But the interpretation of the three boards as branches of the same tree, I certainly don't have a problem agreeing that it's three branches of the same tree. KPPA as a board is not the trunk of the tree. They are not a system. Only C and K are systems. We are the only two boards that have a fiduciary responsibility to members. The KPPA board does not have a fiduciary responsibility to members. It has a responsibility for the oversight and administration of KPPA. And that's exactly what the statute says. So again, for those reasons, I will not be supporting this resolution as it's drafted.
Okay, thank you. Any further discussion? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed?
No.
No.
Okay, I heard 2 noes. So that's 6 yeas and 2 noes. The motion is adopted. Thank you very much.
Keith, again, I
Yes.
want to thank everybody for working on this. I think as we move forward, having clarity, both of us agreeing on things will really help us a lot.
Our next item is a closed session to discuss both litigation and personnel. So I will seek a motion for closed session.
So move.
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And the motion is adopted. A motion having been made in open session to move into closed session for a specific purpose, and such motion having carried by majority vote in open public session, the board shall now enter closed session to consider litigation matters pursuant to 61.810(1)(c) and to discuss the renewal of the executive director's contract pursuant to 61.810(f). Closed session is necessary because of the necessity of protecting the confidentiality of the KPPA's litigation strategy and preserving any available attorney-client privilege, as well as to protect the employee's confidentiality. So with that, we're in closed session.